Just remembered about Alfred, that we get a little bit more information. Of course, Lorna, your stories are like the best because you know there were just face to face, mano a mano, word to word, and this is a little bit more formal. But I hope you appreciate the information about Alfred here. On July 4th of last year, Alfred Arteaga, poet, essayist, and cultural studies scholar, died of a massive heart attack. He was 58 years old. Alfred would probably identify himself as a Chicano or a mestizo. He was born and raised to Mexican-American parents in the Chicano barrio in LA. But Alfred was a kind of spirit who transcended labels. His friend and colleague Laura Perez refers to Alfred as a Renaissance man who, in contrast to most people, not only mastered a European education, or Eurocentric education, but possessed a profound knowledge of indigenous traditions, philosophies, and aesthetics of the pre-Columbian world. As a professor and scholar, he reveled in the possibilities, the juxtapositions, and the collisions of cultures, and closely examined the fusions and mergings of Western and indigenous influences in the Americas. He was especially interested in Chicano cultural hybridity and the contributions of Chicano culture to American language and music. His work was decidedly post-colonial, as he considered Mexican and Mexican-American histories of conquest in his understanding of contemporary cultural fusions. A philosopher at heart, and this has come up quite a bit, he was an expert on the works of Shakespeare and the Mexican poet of Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz. He spoke many languages, including Spanish, French, Portuguese, and Latin. He traveled extensively throughout the world. Alfred joined the UC Berkeley faculty in 1990 and soon became a much-loved teacher and mentor to many of his students, those of you, or many of you who are here, whom he influenced and encouraged. He utilized his MFA in creative writing from Columbia University and a PhD in literature from UC Santa Cruz to help himself and others live creatively between the lines, the margins, and the borders of our fragmented postmodern world. Besides Frozen Accident, which was the name of, I think, his last book, Arteaga published 4 other collections of poetry: Zero Act, Red, Love in the Time of Aftershocks, and Cantos. These range between 1991 to 2006. His poem Corrido Blanco from Cantos was memorialized as part of the Berkeley Poetry Walk, a collection of poems set in cast iron panels in the sidewalk of Addison Street in the city of Berkeley. If you have a chance, go check them out. They're beautiful. Our paths, his and mine, crossed many times. We were both budding poets during the height of the Chicano movement, like Lorna, but I really did not get to know him until much later. After I was denied tenure at a Southern California university and was thrown into a vortex of confusion, a friend recommended I talk to Alfred for guidance. Alfred also experienced incredible injustices at his university, something to which he owes his first heart attack. The first heart attack put him in a coma for 6 weeks. I think we all know that academe is often unkind to poets and creative types.
Yeah.
He helped me sort out my wounds from my strengths and basically encouraged me to fight for justice, but not allow it to hurt my soul, my spirit, or my health. I did that and got through just fine. Although Alfred and I would probably continue to believe that they're all a bunch of SOBs to this day. I eventually won my tenure and then I left. I would like to read this poem that Alfred wrote from this remembrance of his, for his funeral. It's called Illumination Mine. It is after all this faith blind in light, after everything enlightening, more is the brighter God. Omni, omni, omni. By design illumines all small bones conceal little between ultraviolet and infrared. The meek prey on the spirit of sand, bare between the blue violets of sea, sky, sea. The divine color, a bleach of revelation, more and more light, and faith in the more. The word God shines, there for the taking, burns away any possible night, seen all seen. Alfred Arteaga. Alfred's life and his life's work helps us not only to imagine, but to recognize that the U.S. is just a small part of a larger hemisphere, a large continent on which the multiplicity of peoples, languages, cultures, histories, and desires fused together by a landmass that is not separate, save for the separation imposed by man and men, the borders created by geopolitical land grabs and by the mental delusions and illusion of separations that plague human beings. This is what Alfred was able to contribute through his understanding of lines and borders, a unique syllable of unification uttered by our collective hearts. That's it.
Okay,
Thank you, Naomi.
now we're going to hear from one of Alfred's students, former students, Javier Huerta. Are you related to D. Huerta? No, the poet.
No, I'm not.
The Mexican poet.
No,
Oh, okay, all right. So then you're just bad on your own. Deborah, there's a chair over here. Yeah, I'm sure you'd be much more comfortable. There's one right
There's
there
another
too.
one here because this is here.
Oh, that one's probably more comfortable right there.
But as long as I'm not standing. If someone wants to sit there, there's also one right here. This is here.
Anyway, his first book is Some Clarifications y Otros Poemas. One Latino, Chicano Latino Literary Prize. His second book is just now hot off the press, and you can get a copy. After all, this is a bookstore, so do buy books, particularly from our readers. American Copia, so get your copia of American Copia. This is a wonderful book. It's got poetry, prose, nonfiction, different snippets of things. I'm sure you'll hear. Javier Huerta. I keep saying that, David Huerta. Is originally from that imaginary border. He's from Laredo, Texas, and is just finishing up, graduating, graduate degree. UC Berkeley. Javier Huerta.
Thank you, Lorna. Like it never escapes me how fascinating or how amazing it is to know Lorna, right? To know Naomi. And it was the same feeling with Alfred, you know, like this is Alfred, you know. I had this book, Cantos, before I came to Berkeley. So, you know, I was aware of him and the fact that he was like the first Chicano to go to Columbia and get an MFA, to pursue creative writing that way. I was definitely a big fan before I came, and then I got to work with him. I was lucky enough to be in one of his last workshops. He would give workshops in the Ethnic Studies department at UC Berkeley. So I was lucky enough to be in that workshop. I'm still very good friends with some of the students who were in that workshop. And the thing about, at that time I was working, I believe the first book was already accepted for publications, but I got the chance to rework it, and so it definitely helped me to be in Alfred's workshop because he asked like difficult questions, right? It wasn't about, you know, is this the right place to have a line break, right? He asked like, well, why have a line break there, right? Why, you know, like, you know, that's like a big question, right? Like the why, and then he would make you, you know, you can't just say, oh, because it sounds good, or like, you know, it's like, well, why end the poem this way, you know? And he would make you articulate he would demand that of you, right, and of all the students to articulate, why you were making certain choices in your poetry. And I think it definitely helped me. I'm going to read I wanted to read actually first from Cantos. If you don't have this book, it's definitely a book you should look into. I don't know. They have it here. But Cantos by Alfred Arteaga, I believe is his first poetry book. I believe. I want to read I don't know if it's the preface or it's just the first prose poem. We talk about Chicano and like, do you spell it with a CH? Do you spell it with an X? And so he has sort of this commentary on X, antecanto, the Chicano sign. These cantos Chicanos begin with X and end with X. They are examples of Chicano verse marked with the cross, the border cross of Alambre Rio, the cross of Jesus X in Native America, the Nahuatl X in Mexico, Mexicano, Chicano. It is our mark, our cross, our X, our sign of never ceasing, being born at the point of two arrows colliding, X, and at the gentle laying of one line over another line, X. It is the sound we make to mark one another. August 29, familia, raza, as well as to exclude ourselves from the patterns of death imposed from without. We sign the X each time we speak. We cross at least one border. And because it is our sign, andamos cruzando cruzados, naciendo, siendo chicanos otra vez, cada vez, esta vez. I am the point of my own X, but the arms, los brazos, vienen de lejos, and the arms reach far. And I've always loved that piece. He just takes this one, seemingly trivial thing. You spell it with CH or an X, and of course there's again that question that he would ask of us, like why? Then why spell it with an X? What does that mean? And that was his explanation for why you would use the X. I want to read. This is my second book, American Copia. And I'm going to read a section. I have 5 I call them copias. And Lorna took my joke. I was going to say you should get your copia of my copia.
Couldn't resist.
Yeah, it's okay. I have other jokes. So there's 5 copias in that. There's these prose pieces that kind of just run through. And the prose piece that I wanted to read is the one. The one that I wrote centered around the Chicano cultural working group that we had going at UC Berkeley, some graduate students from different departments, Spanish department, ethnic studies department, and English department. And we, for like 3 years, we hosted events. We brought in Lorna for one of the Floricantos we had there. We brought in Jose Montoya, and I believe our first event was with Sherry Morad. So it's based on those people that I knew in that group, and Alfred was one of our mentors, in that he actually came to our meetings and he would meet with us and he helped us judge a poetry contest for the undergraduates, and he was very involved as much as his health allowed him to be. So I'm going to read this. Again, it's kind of prose, poetic prose or something, so I'm going to read, and you can interrupt me if you want and have questions. So, American Copia. Looks like I'm going to the grocery store for some grapefruit juice tonight to commence with the experiment. Alma and I dated for a short while. She said that I wasn't allowed to kiss her on or around the UC Berkeley campus because she didn't want our friends and colleagues to find out. Trying to persuade her, I quoted my translation of an old Berkeley postcard. Besarte no es crimen in Berkeley. But she shrugged her shoulders in that immensely adorable way she does when she means no, but doesn't want to say no. So I suggested we walk down Telegraph to the parking lot of Andronicos on Parker, which would be far enough that no one would be able to see us and know the total of our besos. She said it was too far. Pero almis de mi almis, wouldn't it be worth it? They have since closed that Andronicos down. In 1966, we go to the supermarket to boycott the Shenley Liquor Company, which owns the vast majority of the vineyards in the San Joaquin Valley. We refuse to buy all table grapes nationwide, and in 1970, the boycott pays off as Shenley Liquor and other grape producers are pressured to sign contracts, providing significant benefit to workers. The grape boycott proves that just as Jesus turned water into wine, the workers united to turn grapes into justice. I'm going to the grocery store, visit mom, get some keys made, straighten the house, clean the bathrooms, and make a nice dinner. That should keep me busy, but if I run out of stuff to do, I'll clean out the fridge. It's getting kind of sticky in there. After the third annual XWG Noche de Floricanto, Huerta walks with Valorista down Telegraph Avenue in search of a bottle of wine. They buy a bottle at a small market on Telegraph and Dwight and walk back to Valorista's hotel room. What was spoken between the two poets will become a matter of great conjecture for Huerta's biographers. When asked about this conversation in an interview, Huerta simply responds, "Hablamos de la poesía, las mujeres y de otros placeres." One of Huerta's biographers will make this encounter a central moment in the chapter, Huerta and the Chicano tradition. In the meantime, I'm going to the grocery store to find something I can buy for $1.62, all in pennies, of course. Hopefully you won't be the lucky person that gets stuck behind me at the checkout counter. Should Congress abolish the penny? Please let me know your thoughts. After a movie, someone offers to drive me home because she's going that way anyway, so she has to stop at the Safeway on Rose and Shattuck to buy ingredients for what she calls her famous spinach salad. I accept the ride and reply, "You mean your famous all-over-town spinach salad?" Then someone says, "Why? Because people question its authenticity?" Someone and I have a good laugh over this. Not a carcajada, more like a chuckle. I am of the opinion that a joke explained is a joke misunderstood. So I would simply recommend that you read Marcial Gonzalez's Chicano novels and The Politics of Form, Race, Class, and Reification. That was like an inside joke for Chicanos. I'm going to the grocery store on my bike and loading up. Seriously, I'm going to do it. Marisol has a story about grocery carts. Once upon a time, I was a young, high-achieving, broke perfectionist, knocked up, unwed Chicana Ivy League student. So many stereotypes, so many oxymorons. We had no money, no car, and lied about my baby daddy, we weren't married yet, being an international, read wealthy, Mexican student. In order to secure an apartment off campus after I had been denied because I was clearly not a trust fund baby. We lived across the street from La Casa, Yale's Latino Cultural Center, where I had worked since I started school. Our apartment finally became known as La Casa Annex. In any case, our corner place at 129 York Street, apartment 4G, was 2 blocks downhill from the Yale New Haven Hospital. Since it was common practice for undergrads to borrow grocery carts to move, a practice in which we participated plenty of times, we decided that if it came down to it, Francisco could always just use the grocery cart to push me up the hill to the hospital when I went into labor. After all was said and done, we bought a no station wagon and Francisco drove me those 2 blocks uphill when the time came. But we almost always kept the grocery cart stashed in the bushes that had just, from the new Walgreens that had just been built across the street, just in case. In the 60s, Jose Montoya will accompany Gertrude Stein to the supermarket. As they passed the florist shop at the front of the store, Stein would famously proclaim, "A rose is a rose is a rose." Later, when he picks up a bag of rice and places it in his basket, Montoya responds, "Arroz es arroz es arroz." This becomes a defining moment for La Poesía Chicana. We are to work within the American tradition, but we shall write arroz poéticas on our own terms. On our own terms, ese. I accompany Almis de mi Almis to the Whole Foods on Harrison. She starts feeling on peaches to see if they are ripe enough to eat. I grab one of the peaches and, pretending to bite it, ask her, "Do I dare eat a peach?" She calls me a nerd because she knows it's from T.S. Eliot's Proof of Poem. Trying to convince her that I am not a nerd, I sang, and this, I don't sing, but I sang, "Really love your peaches, wanna shake your tree." But she had never heard of the Steve Miller Band. People's Community Market. For For many years, People's Grocery worked toward opening a for-profit grocery store in West Oakland. We incubated and successfully spun off a project to build People's Community Market, PCM, in January of 2010, of which Bram Ahmadi, co-founder of People's Groceries, is the founder and CEO. We will be one of PCM's partners when it opens its doors in 2012, contributing nutrition programming, leadership development, and providing pathways for the store to build relationships with residents. I actually like going to the grocery store. It's a big, friendly building with meat, cheese, and smiling people who say things like, "Good day," and "May I help you?" It's like a tiny Wisconsin. But I don't like to grocery shop. It's work. I'm going to the supermarket. What shall I learn of baked beans, and baked beans of me? When he visits Mexico, Pablo Neruda finds the essence of Mexico to be in, quote, "los mercados más hermosos del mundo," end quote. Sing Gaby, o de poesía lived en el mercado Abastos. Una viejita vende cebollas que trajo de San Juan. Una señora vende pollo de una granja en Zamora donde las gallinas andan libres pero luego les retuercen los pescuezos. Anda el forastero, poeta y vaquero cantando canciones de traición y desamor. Están los turistas fuereños y adinerados gastando sus dólares en artesanías y chucherías, disque según hechas a mano. Y ahí se pone el chiquillo a vender papitas y chicharrones para los señores que se están tomando sus caguamas y quieren botanear. Y los cuerpos sangrientos de las vacas y los puercos invadiendo la carnicería con el olor del muerto. Y los perros callejeros que mueven las colitas por una borona de tortilla. O por lo menos un pedazo de pan. Otra señora vende elote en vaso. Y pasan los novios agarrados de la mano porque los domingos son los únicos días que los papás dejan salir a la novia. Una niña vende chicles. A los 7 años, todos los días viene aquí a trabajar. Y una estudiante medio pocha escribe versos de lo que observa. Me paro en medio del mercado junto al puesto del curandero charlatán que apesta a mirra, a hierba Santa María, a salvia y a copal. Y una mujer indígena me mira y me pregunta, ¿qué va a llevar, marchantita? Me acuerdo que vine a comprar aguacates para comérmelos con tortillita, limón y sal. West Oakland Grocery Store Project. There is a strong potential that a national warehouse food store chain owned by Kroger will be built in West Oakland. People's Grocery has launched an education and organizing campaign to encourage and inform public debate regarding the pros and cons of existing and potential retail grocery options for West Oakland. This includes community surveys, public forums, neighborhood dinners, and coalition work with concerned organizations and residents. Timing, says little Sara, as she runs into the grocery store. Her mom waits for her in the car. While we wait for Sara to return with the items on her list, let us discuss the Global Polio Eradication Initiative and the dreams of a post-eradication world. The GPE initiative works to ensure that every last child is protected from polio, but its work will not end once polio has been eradicated. Activities will be needed to minimize the risk of poliovirus reintroduction and the emergence of circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus. To prepare for the management of these risks, the GPE initiative has a multi-pronged program of work consisting of research, new product development, strategy formulation, and policy development. But let us return to the United States, to where polio has been eradicated, to where Sara is running as fast as her little feet take her, back to her mother sitting in the car. Sara plays this game with her mother, who can't run into the store herself because she suffers from polio. It is Sara's job to buy whatever items are needed from the store. Her mother times her, and little Sara always tries to beat her best time. Baked apples and besos. That's what Alma and I titled our third date. My plan was to cook a vegetarian dinner for her, from a recipe for pasta e fagioli that I found in Vegetarian Cooking for Dummies. I had to go to Safeway and Andronicos on Shattuck, not only to buy ingredients, but also a large pot and dishes because I was in transition and didn't have a fully equipped kitchen. Alma will later compliment my pasta with beans as edible. From another recipe in the same book, I made baked apples and served them with ice cream. I credit this dessert for my first Almis beso. Me dejó tocar su linda cara y besar sus lindos labios. Hence the name of the date, baked apples and besos. She and I, she says it was just me, started giving alliterative titles to our dates. First date, hiking and half price. Second date, Francisco and fireworks. I suggested that our fourth date should be pineapples and panties. She didn't go for it, but admitted that would be a fun trip to the supermarket. I'm hungry and thirsty. I'm going to the grocery store. Tell me what to get. I think there is something strange about people in affluent societies choosing to deny themselves food. It's one thing if you can't afford it. Anthony Braxton chooses to eat unhealthy food because it is cheaper and he can't afford expensive restaurants and health food when he is touring. Going hungry is no joke or stunt or art for millions of people. I like your idea about an undocumented poetics. Another idea is a secret or hidden poetics, as I'm reminded of indigenous people who have had to sometimes keep their real beliefs, their real names, and even their languages secret in order to survive. So from now on, I'm going to the grocery store every Wednesday and get lots of good fresh food. I'm going to get a pineapple, my favorite fruit, and eat some tonight. Ooh, I'm so excited. In spring 2007, Alma slips and falls on her bum as she walks past the cash registers in the Safeway on College and Claremont. This could be an example of what Baudelaire in his essay on the essence of laughter calls the inadvertently comic, because her boyfriend and other people in the store laugh at her. But it could also be an example of le comique absolu. Baudelaire says, quote, "The man who trips would be the last person to laugh at his own fall, unless he happened to be a philosopher, one who had acquired by habit the power of rapid self-division, and thus of assisting as a disinterested spectator at the phenomena of his own ego." End quote. Possessing the power of self-doubling, and despite the fact that her tush really hurts, philosophical Alma laughs at herself. Raza graduation, UC Berkeley, May 2012. So you think you're all bad now, Joe, Mr. College grad? I'm just messing with you. Congratulations. I'm always going to remember that day when we all met, you and me and Melissa, not just because that's the day I first laid eyes on my Melly. Remember what I said after she said goodbye and left the bar? Absolutely adorable. All right, maybe the first thing I actually said was, who the heck was that? But can you blame a Mexican for being so excited? The girl had jokes, man, talking about what did the cuchillo say to the jello. And she even indulged my funch idea. You get it? Fun lunch. Yeah, funch. Yeah, not just because of Melly, but because that's the first time you and I actually hung out. I remember what you said when I asked how your first week at Berkeley was going. You said, man, I can't seem to find any Kool-Aid. And when you were going on and on about your supermarket search for Kool-Aid, I was thinking, this old Mex-head cabezon might just not make it at UC Berkeley. But then, man, you became big Mexican on campus. Joseph Rios, Raza Cord, recruiting all the little brown ones. Now you're walking across the stage with your mom, and you know your dad is walking right next to you too. All proud of you, Jojo. And oh yeah, don't ever stop believing that someday the Kool-Aid pitcher might just burst through our walls. Alejandro texts Alma. I'm at the grocery store and there's this little old lady who was eating samples, but whatever she ate, she didn't like, so she spat it out and put it back on the tray. The guy had to wipe down and sanitize everything, and there was still some half-chewed food that didn't make it in the trash. Haha, gross. To a man, I'm going to the store is a declarative sentence, nothing else. There's nothing to I'm going to the store that means anything other than I'm going to the store. To a wife, it's an invitation. Finally, we would like to remind people that the Progressive Workers Organizing Committee is sponsoring a march and rally against war and repression on Saturday, January 25. We will assemble in the Fiesta Grocery Store / Dollar Store parking lot at 75th Street in Lawndale, Houston at 1:30 p.m. We will then march down 75th Street to Mason Park, where the rally will be held. The demonstration has been endorsed by the International Socialist Organization, Socialist Labor Party, Houston, Montgomery County Green Party, Harris County Green Party, and Campus Greens of the University of Houston. Other endorsements are forthcoming. English and Spanish versions of the flyer for the event are available. Please get in touch if you would like to endorse the January 25th demonstration. Receive more information about our work or inform us about your activities. We look forward to hearing from you soon in solidarity and struggle. Animals don't have supermarkets, but a department that packages their meat for them. It's about survival and instinct. Do you really think the meat you buy comes from prey that was hunted for you? At 11:56:39 a.m., I text Alma to say I'm walking around in the fiesta in Bel Air in Hillcroft. I send a second text. My life is absurd, Alma. I know that sounds melodramatic, but it is. She texts back, from your grocery store point? I'm standing in my gym clothes in the women's locker room. Feel good after working out. I text, damn, Alma. I changed the gym clothes. It was something else. She texts, thought that might make you smile. And follows it with this text. And yes, it does sound melodramatic, but that's you. I text, and by the way, the text exchange we just had is going to go in the book. She, what texting? The texting we just did started with me telling you I was at fiesta to this one. A guy saying I'm going to the store usually means I'm out of beer. Everyone knows that. You guys know Richard Rodriguez? Hunger of Memory? I have a little one here that I wrote here. The first part, the Richard Rodriguez, this is how he pronounces it, this is how he hears it most often. It's almost a direct quote from what he says. So bear. Richard Rodriguez, this is how he pronounces it, this is how he hears it most often. Goes to the supermarket and experiences an epiphany. Richard Rodriguez, this is how he pronounces it, this is how he hears it most often. Discovers that Velveeta has created a product that blends American cheese and Mexican jalapeno. In an interview with Billy Moyer, Richard Rodriguez, this is how he pronounces it, this is how he hears it most often, will remember this epiphany and declare jalapeno Velveeta to be an American revolution. Another day, Richard Rodriguez, this is how he pronounces it, this is how he hears it most often, goes to the supermarket and is dumbfounded by the ethnic foods aisle. As a rebuttal, Richard Rodriguez, this is how he pronounces it, this is how he hears it most often, firmly proclaims, I am not a can of refried beans. This is what matters to me, the story of the educated brown man who will go to the supermarket every day, unable to satisfy the hunger of memory. A man has success if he gets up in the morning and gets to bed at night, and in between he buys what he wants to buy at the grocery store. As part of her winning entry for the Alfred Arteaga Poetry Prize, a competition conducted by XWG to promote poetry among UC Berkeley Chicano with the Aroba undergraduates, Cecilia Caballero submits a poem titled Grocery Shopping. Alfred Arteaga, 1950-2008 y presente, was a poet and professor of ethnic studies at UC Berkeley. His books include Chicano Poetics, Cantos, House with the Blue Bed, and Frozen Accident. He was awarded the Penn Oakland Josephine Miles Award and the National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship. Alfred offered an unconditional friendship and mentorship to XWG and its members. As a humble gesture to honor him, our organization has unanimously decided to name our annual Floricanto Prize after him. Te queremos, Alfred. A ver, Almita, ¿qué traes ahí? No te hagas mensa. A ver, abre las manos. ¿Cacahuates? ¿Yesos? No, Almita, en esta familia no tenemos rateros. Ándale, regrésalos. A handful of peanuts. This is the only thing Almita has ever stolen. She went with her mom to the grocery store on the day the food stamps arrived. But hunger travels faster than food stamps, and it had been days since the hunger had arrived. Her mom will buy only food she can buy with WIC, cheese, milk, and eggs. Almita hated those blocks of cheese. She craves more than WIC food. So she reaches into the pile of peanuts and pockets 2 peanuts. Once outside of the store, Almita takes out the 2 peanuts and cracks one of them. But her plan is spoiled because the peanut has spoiled. Her mom notices she has taken the peanuts y la regaña. She tells Almita to take the peanuts back. I'm sorry, Almis, that when you told me the story at Lucky's, my thoughts were elsewhere. And that's the end of that quote. Thank you again, Lorna, for inviting me to do this, and I leave you with a joke, and I look forward to the open mic. I don't know what joke I should. There's I actually talked to Nick at the Público about doing a joke book, and he's like, well, how many jokes do you have? I'm like, 5, and he didn't seem that impressed. So I've been working like trying to get more jokes. Like, ¿qué le dice un guante a otro guante? I've told this before. I glove you. Like, ¿qué le dice una puerta a otra puerta? I adore you. One from the book. What does the corn tortilla say to the wheat tortilla? It's a supermarket joke. Corn tortilla to the wheat tortilla. No te agüites. Okay, what did the chair? That's what I gotta go out with a good note. What did the chair say to the other chair? See ya.
See ya.
See ya.